Good morning, everybody. Late morning. Maybe not so late for some of you. We are Addigy. We're a United States company. We're based in Miami headquarters, but we are spread out pretty well throughout the United States. And we're very happy to be here. There are two of us here today. John is that gentleman right there, the hand in the air. He's head of product. My name is Jorge, but you can call me George. And I'm the lead UI UX engineer. John is from Minnesota, which is exactly like that. And I am from Miami Beach, which is exactly like that. What you don't see is that there's a bunch of mosquitoes hovering around that thing. So what we're going to talk about today, in general, we're going to talk about the user experience all around. And there's two kinds of that. There's two parts of that. There's your user experience when you use our product. We're essentially a web app, so I sweat that a lot during my regular day job. But we also worry a lot about the user experience of your end users, because we do create software, a couple of native apps specifically, for your end users to use. And we'll talk about those when we get to it. So what is Addigy? So Addigy is a pure SaaS product. That's a fancy term that just really, for me, means we're a web application. We're in the cloud. You log in through your browser. We're a full MDM provider. We're basically a full Apple device management solution in the cloud through a browser. Yes, full MDM provider, of course, but we also have a pretty robust Mac agent that is now several years old and adds a lot of features to what we offer. We are built for any type of team. This is my inclusion here. As a UX designer, I really worry about each and every type of user that comes in and use our apps, and I'll talk about that a little more in a minute. We are a very active young team of developers and product people, and hungry as heck. So we tend to ship very often. In fact, we usually have features and updates and bug fixes almost every day, maybe every other day, and honestly, sometimes even multiple times a day. And I always throw us in there because we do have a super support team. We love them internally. Our customers love them. It's included for everybody, and they are actually they're a pretty good conduit for us communicating with our end users, even the engineering and product department. We really rely on them for a lot of information, and I wanted to give them a shout out here, because it's a really important part of our customer. So our customers, who are they? Really, like I said, we really want to be for everybody. I mean, the sales team probably won't tell you that, but me as a UI engineer, I really want to make sure that Addigy has something for everybody. Small, medium, and large fleets, of course. In-house IT, of course. We are, a lot of our clientele are MSPs in the United States, both small MSPs and very, very large MSPs. We have some offerings that are special for MSPs that I'll get to. School administrators, of course, and also different levels of technical knowledge. So veteran Mac administrators, which I'm sure is most of you in this room, if not a lot of you in this room, or all of you. But we also have people who either they're Mac administrators but don't know too much. Maybe they don't script, or maybe they don't know Bash or Python or things like that. Or maybe they're new to the Apple platform, or maybe they come from Windows. We do have a lot of people that log into Addigy through their Windows machine because they're pretty much Windows administrators, but they need to service some Macs. They don't really know a lot of stuff about how Macs work. So that support team that I mentioned usually educates them quite a bit. But we also need to work on the UI and the UX internally to make sure it's as easy as possible. There is a philosophy out there that from the scripting world, if anybody knows Perl or has ever heard of Perl, probably not. It is the easy things should be easy and the difficult things should be possible. And as a UX developer, I really love that motto, and I try to apply that internally. So easy things that should be easy or can be easy, we try very much to make it easy inside of Addigy. Not just for Windows people, but I think even the veteran Mac admins would appreciate that. And then, of course, there are very hard things to do, and we make those possible. There's a lot of powerful stuff inside of Addigy that we'll get to as well. So in terms of presenting to you what, like I said, there's two types of UX we're going to talk about here, you guys UX and your end users. So for you, I tried to figure out how I'm going to separate all the features that I'm going to show you today. I thought let's talk about proactive versus reactive. You probably already know what that means, but let's get to it. Maybe it'll be clear. What is proactive? So even before you even have one device under your control, you really have to make a lot of decisions before that. How you're going to manage the devices, what software you're going to get on those devices, what profiles are going to end up on those devices. If you have any third-party integrations, what your security stance is going to be like on those devices, how your users are going to authenticate, how they're going to connect to the network. All those things you have to decide before even one device is enrolled. Addigy also offers monitoring and maintenance, so that's part of something you have to think about is what am I going to monitor for? What am I going to be concerned about? If there's any maintenance I need to run on these devices regularly, already thinking about those. But yes, of course, all that that you build, because essentially most of what you do, at least for me from a UX standpoint and a designer, I like to look at things holistically, and I think that it seems to me that a lot of what your job is to create software and then send that software to a device at some point. And that software could be obviously PKGs, but also an enrollment profile, configuration profile, any kind of little setting file, anything that gets to devices, shipping that to a device and deciding, of course, which is another important part, when to ship that to that device. Because some things you might want to get to that device even before they unbox the thing. Some things you'll get to it eventually. Maybe not so necessarily at the first stop, but also some other things you may not want to ship. You just want to make it available for the user to install whenever they need to. So this is also a part of what you're doing. Because of that, I want to step back for a second and talk about Addigy Policies. This is a little bit different from what I think other people in the industry use the term policies for. In Addigy, a policy is essentially your decision. You define what package of assets you want to send to a particular set of devices. So this package can be as small or as large as you want, and it can contain a lot of different things. It can contain, for example, custom software, enrollment profiles, configuration profiles, monitoring items, maintenance items, custom facts, which I'll get to in a bit, a host of other things. Third-party integration settings within each policy. These are very configurable. These are very configurable to whatever organization you have. MSPs, like I said earlier, they love this structure because it lets them manage different clients all within Addigy, including with different APNS certificates. And then the important part of policies, like I said, is it lets you group those assets, and then it also lets you decide which devices to get those assets to. So there's two parts of it, right? You're grouping your assets, and then you got to tell Addigy, this policy should be assigned to these devices. How you do that can be manual. Like you could say, all right, I've put together my process Addigy, or my assets Addigy, and I want you to assign it to this device, and boop, 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 for these 4 devices. Sure, and a lot of people like doing that because it sort of takes away any doubt. They want to be really confident in terms of what device gets what asset. But it could also be automated. And also, obviously, when you scale up, you're going to need to automate some of this stuff. And they could also be automated as well. These are what policies look like. So that was a list of policies. This is just the overview of a policy. So it tells you what devices are in there. It helps you deploy. You can see there a list of tabs of everything that a policy can have in Addigy. And there's a settings tab as well that has a whole bunch of stuff in there. We'll get to a couple of them. Configuration profiles. This is how you would include those things inside of a policy to build your policies. And I threw in a settings thing here just to show you that you could have an enrollment profile inside of a policy as well. Apps and books information, ADE as well. All that stuff can be in one profile. And that's why I keep saying like MSPs love this stuff because it really, or not just MSPs, but any large corporation that has the need of multiple APNS certificates and enrollment profiles. This is great, because within Addigy, you could have 2 of those, 4 of those, 20 of those. We have some, like I said, very big MSPs that manage many, many clients with one login account in one browser. And they even have multiple of their team members to log in really specifically meant to manage only one of those policies because those junior team members are only meant to manage one of their clients, whereas the owner might be able to log in and manage all their clients across the board. Addigy gives MSPs that tool, but if you're a large organization, you could take advantage of that too. The automated stuff brings us to something that we just released this year, this year, I guess. We're calling them flex policies, which is a sort of a marketing term, but the idea is, like I said, like you could manually assign a policy to devices, but you could also automate that. And we're calling that flex policies. It essentially is like using device facts, what we call device facts, is just like device information criteria, where you could create a rules base where you would deploy all those assets in that policy to whatever device meets the configuration. These can be obviously narrowly or broadly scoped. This is what the UI looks like, just that little piece of it. So basically, you tell Addigy, this policy needs to go to devices that meet this criteria. This is actually already old as of this week, because we already released more stuff here. Under my whatever. We already released more stuff, so this is already old, but we've just added on to this. I should mention now that we do, like I said, we're a very agile team, and we talk a lot to our customers. So a lot of our new features go out as betas. We have a whole list of beta features that we're trying out. Usually things that customers request, but also things that we know we need to build. We build MVP, right? Little minimum viable product. We put it out there as a beta feature. Whoever wants to try it, tries. Whoever wants to try it, tries it. They give us feedback immediately. They tell us this is working great. What's next coming up? This is what I recommend. This is working not so great, so we need to fix it. We iterate that process. And these betas they don't take a long time. They're usually in beta mode for just 1 month or a few weeks. And then they get baked in. As soon as we go through that process, customers tell us if they like it, and they get baked in. Then it's available for everybody. This is one of those features. It's still in beta, but it's towards the end of it. That kind of automation, how Flex Policies works, we're really excited about that, because we have had automation within Addigy since day one, especially those first two. We've had alert remediation. The way that works is you tell Addigy what you want us to look out for, what is a danger moment, essentially, in your entire fleet, or scoped. You can use policies to just scope this to certain devices. But a good example, there is you could tell Addigy to look for anybody that has File Vault unenabled. Like if anybody turned it off, that's a flag, and you could tell Addigy to look for that flag, and as soon as that flag triggers, I want to be alerted. Additionally, optionally, you'd also add a remediation script. So you tell us what you want us to do in case of this event. So if File Vault is disabled on any device out there, you can tell us, enable it, please. And so you can be sure that any device that checks in, devices check in every 30 minutes, I should point out, or whenever they open the lid, it'll check in. If File Vault is turned off, Addigy will immediately turn it off. And if they happen to turn it off again, in 30 minutes, it'll be back on. That's a type of automation. Scheduled maintenance is also a type of automation. Tell us what script you want to run on your devices. Tell us what time you want us to run it, what day, and we'll run it regularly. This is kind of things that we want to start working on more and more and more to take away some of the tedium that you guys need to do on a regular basis. Flex Policies that I mentioned before is exactly that as well. This rules-based sort of assignment is exactly that. It's a way to sort of take away some of the tedium, like I said, like that manual process of assigning devices to a policy is not so great when you have 1,000 or 2,000 devices. Sure, there's bulk ways to select many devices at once and add policies at once, but that's still not good enough. And of course, that also requires you to even know what these devices are, where if you have a large organization, especially if you're an MSP, you don't really even know sometimes who those devices are. Or if you're a very, very large organization in-house, you don't know where your devices are. You're spread all over the world. You're a multinational company. Suddenly a device shows up here because your Singapore office got enrolled, and you don't even know where that person is or what that person does in the company. But as long as you correctly do these rules-based, that person will get the assets that they need as soon as they need it. Automation is really great for us, so great, in fact, that we've already started what we're calling an automation engine. We've started a long time ago. This is just a new feature that we're doing, so we're realizing that it's important. I'm going to move forward. So our automation engine is this new part of our infrastructure that we're starting to build out to underlie most of Addigy. Looking for the things in Addigy that are repetitive and tedious. And we're going to find ways to use the automation engine because it uses our own API, which is great, right? we are going to use the API with our own automation engine to sort of take away that tedium. And it's important that this is optional. So we do have those people that do want to explicitly decide what goes where, and that's very good, and I like those people, and those people are very careful, and we would never walk away from those people. And in fact, if you don't have many devices, if you only have, say, 100 devices or less, you don't really need some of this automation because you probably do have a personal relationship with each and every device in your fleet. But if you don't, it's optional. You can add this. You can add these tools as well to speed things up. Patch management. I put this in here because, again, as a UX, this is one of the hardest parts of UX that I think you guys have to deal with. There's updates constantly. Even if there was nothing else in the world but Chrome, there are updates constantly. And I know this is a real pain in the neck for a lot of people to update their devices all the time. Addigy has a way to do that. We basically alert you with the big yellow button right there to let you know that there are updates available for your suite of devices. With just a few clicks, you can replace the old one with the new one and deploy them out. This works for your own uploaded packaged software, but also haven't mentioned yet that we also have our own managed, we call it the public library of software, where we have about 90 of the most popular apps that people need, things like Zoom and browsers. So you don't have to go package those yourself. You could just browse our library, select what you want, add it to your catalog, or sorry, add it to your policy, deploy it. And if there's an update for those every day, our team, unfortunately, has to bring in that update, replace that file, make it available, and let you know that you have an update so you can deploy it. Chrome is everybody's nightmare, but including our own. So we'd like to very happily take on that nightmare just to make it easier for all of you. It doesn't make sense that everybody has that headache. We'll do it ourselves. So there's the thing where it shows you, like, you have a couple of updates. Smart software is just our name for your custom software that you upload. Oh, we call it smart software, incidentally, because when you upload the PKG, we'll look into it. We'll interrogate it to see if there are any PPPC files, profiles that need to be included in there so that when you deploy it, your end user doesn't have to approve anything. They won't get prompted for anything. We'll give you that for free. But also, if you have your own PPPC profiles, you can also include them as well in the file. So that's really proactive management. It's just the tip of the iceberg of what Addigy provides. I don't have really time to show you a lot of stuff, but there's a whole bunch of other things. We could show you a lot of this stuff upstairs. We could demo it, a lot of it actually upstairs for now. If you have any questions, come up to the booth. The next thing is reactive management. This is, of course, you've been proactive, you've been pretty strategic about everything you need to do, everything is right place, everything gets deployed just how you want it, and one of your users gets locked out of the device and you don't even know what they do. Or they're beach balling, you need to solve that problem right now. This is what I call reactive management. Like these problems are going to happen, so you need to fix them. Hopefully, you need to fix them. How do you do that? Well, Addigy has a lot of tools for you to be able to fix devices on the spot as fast as you can. And let me explain what some of those are. We'll start with MDM, because MDM does have something, basically, as far as I know, I would consider remote wipe and lock the only thing that MDM does in terms of like reactive management. There's a problem, you could lock the device, which is kind of okay, except if it's a Mac and the user found out how to get into that device. Locking it is really just going to inconvenience him for a second. He'll just unlock it again and get back in. A little bit better for iOS devices. But the other one is extreme, right? You could wipe it. But those are valid. Those are valid, good points. Like if you lose a device, I'm going to wipe it to get all that sensitive data and make sure it's not out there in public. Addigy, though, enhances this for Macs especially because we have 3 what we call live tools. We have live chat, live desktop, and live terminal. I'll talk a little bit about what those things mean. Live chat is sort of what you would expect. You have the ability to trigger a chat discussion with any remote user on a Mac. Again, I want to emphasize that. You have a chat, you could trigger a chat with any remote user, it will prompt them, and you could start a conversation immediately. You can see that this page just has a bunch of gray stuff. I just wanted to point out that no matter what you're doing within Addigy at any point, the chat window hovers above it. So whenever there's a response from the end user, it'll pop up there. You don't have to like go look for it. There's no need to refresh your page. It's a sort of a live conversation. And that's obviously maybe your first step in terms of trying to mitigate somebody's problem. You could let them know that, hey, I noticed something is going on. Can I help you? Or even they might not even know it, right? You might get a flag that this device has only 20 megabytes of space left in the hard drive. You might want to let them know, I see that you have 20 megabytes of space left. Do you mind if I fix some things? Or look for big files that I can delete. It's kind of nice. Live chat also expands. You could have multiple chats going at once with different devices. The other two I want to talk about, I wanted to introduce this page first. This is we call it GoLive. It's really our device detail view, which is where you would expect to see all the detail information about that device. So we call it device facts. Unfortunately, I can't scroll here, but if you scroll down, you'll see, I don't know, something like 80, 90 device facts that we collect from our auditor from Macs. We also collect as much as MDM can give us from MDM. We collect that automatically as an audit every 30 minutes, like I said before, I think. And we store that. So anytime you go in here, whether the device is on or offline, you'll see whatever latest data we know about that device. However, GoLive also has some very more powerful tools here, and because it is live. So these metrics that you see there in yellow, this is an ongoing updated metric. So you can see the device usage, the CPU usage rather, what the memory looks like every 10 seconds. So that updates every 10 seconds. We see how that device is doing. And if you see the CPU spiking, well, you already know something's wrong there. It also gives you other tools that you can do from within GoLive. A lot of information down here. One of the things I wanted to point out in this talk right now is those two little icons there next to the word online. Once you got a green button next to it, that's what I was talking about, live desktop and live chat, live desktop and live terminal. This is what live desktop looks like. Essentially, from within Addigy, from within the browser, you could launch a live desktop session, meaning you have visibility and control of the remote device from the browser. If you're using a Mac, if you're on a Mac, I think everybody in this room is that, man, I mean, that's not fair. But if you use a Mac yourself, you don't even need to install any hardware because your Mac comes already with a local VNC client, which is the protocol we're using here. So all we're going to do is we're going to give you a secure URL, encrypted. You click on that, you're going to launch your VNC client, and now you have a connection to that remote device. And like I said, control and view. So this is super powerful, obviously. I should say that there's no privacy preferences, so the user doesn't have to allow this. We sort of allow it under the hood for you. Probably a good idea to use that chat feature first to let them know you're going to do that, I suggest. But yeah, they don't have to go into privacy preferences, look for your name and approve. They don't have to do any of that. It's already set for them. Oh, and this this is available anywhere in the world, obviously. As long as they're on the web and you're on the web, you can connect. The last one I wanted to talk about, the last live feature I want to talk about is what I call live terminal. If live desktop, for some reason, doesn't give you what you need, if that's not enough control, or if it's beach balling or something like that, you could actually initiate a live terminal session from the browser. Essentially what that does is it gives you command line access right from the browser to that device. And that is it's an SSH tunnel, essentially. I got some notes here. Root level access. And it is immediate response. So type something, hit enter, and you get echoed back immediately. If you're an Advanced Unix coder, obviously you're loving this slide right now. If you're not an Advanced Unix coder, this is probably scaring you, and don't go in there and touch this. Or mess around. Who cares? You have a test device, go ahead and go nuts. We think that together with live desktop, live terminal and live desktop together basically give you as much as we can from within the browser, like if you're standing right in front of the machine. You almost can't do anything more than that, except maybe hardware testing or things like that. So that's Reactive UX. These are the things we covered: MDM, white block, live chat, live desktop. There's a couple of other things that are involved here that, again, I didn't have time to talk about, but I think they're involved in the sort of reactive reactive mode, reactive UX for what you need to do. Again, we could show you some of that stuff upstairs if you're interested. End user UX. So that was all that proactive and reactive stuff. That was all, like I said, like your UX when you're using Addigy. But we also write software for your users. And your users have to interact with those things on their Macs. Namely, those two things are identity and self-service. Identity is, how do we describe it? It's IDP, using IDP to authorize users to get into their Mac. Essentially, you probably know what this is. I think there's other products out there. But essentially, this can be installed, of course, as soon as the user unboxes the device. You open the device, you get a prompt from Azure, for example, Google, log in, and they're immediately into the device without even having to create a user account. We'll create that for you under the hood. It's nice for users as well, because obviously they don't have to have a separate password for their device. They just immediately log into the IDP. They're on the network and on the device at the same time. And that obviously gets enforced. If you close the lid and open that lid back up, you'll have to log in again. And self-service is what you probably already know about. It's a native Swift app. Oh, actually, let me go through them. This is IDP. This is identity, rather. SSL authentication. Support Okta, Google, and Azure. I think it also supports Office 365. I read that somewhere. It's not on this list. But so for any of you who's not familiar with how this works, you can basically unbox a device. Is that too dark? I don't know. You basically unbox a device, immediately asks you to log into your network IDP provider, logs you in, and all your assets start immediately coming in, because that device, if you use ADE, obviously you did, and you enrolled into a policy that already has assets assigned to it, those assets will start flowing in immediately. Oh, and we let you customize the wallpaper there during sign up. Again, we're for MSPs, so we want to make sure you guys customize whatever you want. Self-service is a native Swift app on all Macs, where you can make software, instead of delivering the software yourself, you can just make software available to users to download at their convenience, whenever they want or if they want. It's a native app, like I said. It also has scripts. This is install application, but we also have scripts there so that we found the need. A lot of MSPs and some of our customers had the need to. It was difficult for them because they know that if they just run a script on the device, they'd be able to solve it, but they would need that device to be online, or they would need to be able to communicate with that person before they run that script. So instead, what they asked for and what we provided was a way that you can add these scripts to self-service, and as long as the user is educated to know that, oh my God, when this happens, clearing caches is a good one. When this happens, I just need to run this script, open self-service, run a script, and my problem solved. And they can do that in the middle of the night or wherever they are in the world. And this is good. It also, I also want to point out that banner across the top is, again, customizable by you. Our logo just happens to be there because this is my particular one from my laptop, which my company uses. Obviously, my company uses Addigy to manage our Macs. But MSPs use that bar across to put their own logo, their own contact information. Your users basically don't even know Addigy exists for the most part. Even the logo up at the menu bar on a Mac to trigger this, you can customize that little logo as well to have your logo. So they won't even see our logo anywhere. There's an info panel there, which you could add even more information for contact. So this is fully white labeled. And like I said, and the other great thing is being a native app, we support light mode and dark mode. So that should make your users happy too. Last thing here, or one of the last things here, interoperability for me is UX as well. We are a web app, and I've been a web developer all my life, and this is important to me. So we are of the web, and we are good citizens of the web. So we try to be interoperable. So we have an API. I mean, we're a web app, and we have your data. So it makes sense that we should provide you with an API to access that data, not just through the browser. We have a pretty powerful API. A lot of our customers use that API to build their own tools. In fact, and with that API, you can do Zapier integration. But I want to get to that customer. We have one customer that has I think over 100 clients that they manage with Addigy. And instead of each one having their own policy, what they do is actually have 200 different Addigy accounts that they only log into initially to just set up that customer, minimal stuff. If there are any changes, they'll also log in, but they also they have a big team of people, so each team has different responsibilities. But what they do, what's great is that using the API, they never have to log in to even find out what's happening in those devices. They use the API to aggregate all that data, and they have their own dashboards that they've built to see what all their customers are doing. So they know when customer A has a device back in the back corner that is not working before even those users know. So this is nice. So yeah, interoperability is important for me too. And so I think this is a lot of the stuff that I've touched on, or at least I've shown you up here. I guess I want to reiterate again, we could demo a lot of stuff, but we are a full-featured Apple device service provider in the cloud without any third-party integration. Now, we do have third-party integration. If you, I guess identity is fair enough. That's a third-party integration. You got to turn on the IDP. And we have a couple other integrations, a few other integrations with a third-party system, but everything you've seen here today does not require any installation of any third-party packages. I think that's it. Come visit us up in our booth. We got demos, we got some giveaways. They'll scan your little thing and we got stuff to give away. I also want to give a shout out to Influential Software, who is, we're over there in that corner. Influential Software is right there, that's Chris, and their booth is right here. They do a lot of our training. So there's Addigy Certified Expert training that you can get and be a certified expert in Addigy. And they provide training for us here in the UK. I think they're giving 20% off at their booth if you go up there today. That's how you can contact us. We're pretty active in Mac admins. I know a lot of you are too. We have our own channel. We are active in there. I'm active in there as well. Even some of the other engineers also get in there and talk. But product people are definitely in there, and support people are very much in there as well. And so thanks. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. So that was actually very fast. Are there any questions about any of this stuff? I could actually go back. Yeah?
Hi. Sorry, not sure if I've missed it or not. Just curious how you're getting on with macOS updates on latest OSs, particularly that panel conversation yesterday about the push
problems,
MDM or nudge or whatever. So how is Addigy handling that?
That story is changing, evolving, and Apple's fixing OS updates. I don't know if you want to talk to this, John, but we just had somebody come up and talk about that as well. You want to talk about this? I can tell you one thing about it while he comes up here. Or actually, you don't have a microphone. Here you go.
We're evolving with Apple on that too. I think it was summed up really well yesterday, where there have been challenges. And one of the things we do in Addigy is we try to eliminate from your thought process, is something going to be delivered via MDM or via the agent? So with the advent of Silicon, what we've done is for our Silicon devices, we're going to deliver OS updates via MDM. Some of the older versions of macOS, we still use our agent, the tools for that. Unfortunately, before 12.3, the MDM update was not quite right. Am I being fair? But again, so we're slowly evolving everything to go to MDM to be able to deliver all the macOS updates. Right now, the whole user approval thing we're working on as well to figure out how we're going to get around that. I wonder if that's going to change. I'm trying to think. About a year ago, remember when Apple announced screen sharing permissions, and it was actually end users on a device, unless they're an admin, could not approve screen sharing. And the community spoke out and said, hey, this isn't going to work for us. And Apple actually responded to that and said, hey, we're going to change this, non-admin users can approve screen sharing, right? I'm hoping on the OS updates we're going to get something like that as well, which will help us along. But again, we're very focused on moving the OS updates into the MDM capabilities, and with 12.3 and forward, hopefully it's going to be reliable. Does that answer the question?
There's a part of that story that I also wanted to point out that we mentioned earlier that reminded me of this. Every WWDC, obviously, Apple announces the new OS that's coming. And that OS often, just like Catalina, scares people a lot. And so, again, we have MSPs, and they're very scared to just start updating, that their customers are actually just going to hit the update button, and suddenly things are going to break. So one of the things we do every summer is as soon as the OS comes out, the betas come out, we immediately install it and we get to work on writing a script that you can deploy to all your devices to block any update. So basically, we're just forcing your end users to say, you can't install anything. In fact, we're not even going to show you that little prompt until we've tested it internally. The admin has tested it internally, and then you can improve it and remove that script. But that's actually a big, big part of this. We make sure, obviously, you should test any update on your device first. We recommend it. And the blocker I'm talking about that we do every year is really to give yourselves internally time to test that before you get to your end user devices. And that happens all throughout the beta period, of course, from Apple. So that's part of that story too. Yeah, so test on your own devices before you, test on your IT devices before you get it in the hands of anybody else. Any other questions? UX questions? Yeah?
I was just wondering if the automation engine is a feature that's already active, or is it, when will that be released?
Well, it's already released. It's already in production. Every little piece that we go throughout the UX, the UI, I should say, to add automation to it, which we already have a roadmap planned of like 3 or 4 things. But we're also waiting for feedback from customers for different things, just ideas in your head of what you want to automate. Every little automation that we create over time is going to be a beta. So we're just going to make it available for you, test it. Does it work? Great, baked. And most of those are going to be very easy because the automation engine is very powerful already. We've tested it internally. In fact, we're writing like a query language for it. So in the future, you'll be able to like write your query. If you ever use Jira to handle your software, yeah, Jira has its own like query language where you could write this entire thing to run a script. We're even baking that thing in there. That's future. But no, it's already full-featured. Not full-featured. It's already pretty far along. But the beta stuff that we're talking about is really just this particular implementation of it so far, which is the auto assignment for the policies. But like I said, we've already added, so I think this week they added an OR feature, so you can say this set of metrics or this other set of metrics or this other set of, you can go on that list to get as granular as you need. So that part is already like almost baked in. The next part will be another beta, so you can test it. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about the live desktop feature. Does the user get prompted in any way that you're viewing their screen?
It did initially until I realized what was happening. But yeah, now it won't get prompted.
I mean, I guess in my world, that might be a bad thing. People feel like we could... Is there any logs of like an admin doing that? Or could you...
It's a good question.
Or could I, potentially spy on someone and they wouldn't know?
No.
Yeah.
You can't spy on them because they will actually get a notification that their desktop is being shared. Cool. You're not going to get that PPPC prompt that says you need to approve this session.
Yeah.
They will get a notification, but we also put it in the logs that administrator X connected to device Y. So you've got that channel and the user is aware that you're there.
Cool. Thank you.
Good question.
Okay, so the question is, in their environment, they actually have a rule that a user has to give permission before you can view their desktop. With Live Desktop, no. But we also have integration with SplashTop built right into the product. So what you would do in your case is you could disable Live Desktop, and your admins would use SplashTop, which has that approval process. So you can use either one of those depending on what your needs are.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Hi. You showed the SSO integration, which I believe is at the time of enrollment. Is that correct?
Not just. If you set up automated device enrollment through Business Manager, yeah, that will get to the device immediately. So yeah, okay. It will already be there when they unbox, but it will continue to stay there. So if they turn off the machine and open it the next day, they're going to have to reinitialize or re-authenticate.
Okay, so it's a login window.
It is a login window.
Okay.
Essentially, we're replacing the Max login window.
Great, okay.
And if you're offline, by the way, it's important, if you're offline, you want people to still be able to work on their devices, they can actually basically switch it off and switch to local mode, where they can use their same password that they use in the IDP into the Mac itself. So if they're on an airplane, they can keep working.
Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. I've never given this talk. I'm an engineer, so I'm not really used to doing these things. Like a lot of other polished people up here are pretty good. I was not, but I appreciate it.